It's November 1992 in Venezuela. A rebel Air Force general just seized control of 24 F-16 fighting Falcons, 16 Mirage fighter jets, and enough attack aircraft to level half the country. His plan? Overthrow the government and rule Venezuela from the cockpit of a stolen Air Force. But he forgot about two loyalist F-16 pilots who weren't having any of that nonsense. 6 hours and multiple aerial shootouts later, those two pilots had single-handedly won an entire air war over their own capital city. And honestly, the whole thing sounds like something straight out of Top Gun, except it actually happened. Alright, so Venezuela in 1992 was a mess. This wasn't even their first coup attempt that year. Some lieutenant colonel named Hugo Chavez had already tried to overthrow the government back in February. Failed spectacularly, but made himself famous in the process. Guy would eventually become president, but that's a whole other story. Point is, the country was unstable as hell, and their air force actually pretty dang impressive. We're talking 24 F-16s, 16 French Mirages, 26 OV-10 Broncos, serious hardware for a South American country. The kind of stuff that could level city blocks if it fell into the wrong hands, which is exactly what was about to happen. Enter Air Force General Francisco Visconti, and this guy had balls the size of bowling balls. His plan was simple but genius. Convince everyone he's preparing an air show for Air Force Day, get all the combat aircraft concentrated at one base, then just take them. Under the pretense of some ceremonial business, Visconti orders basically the entire Venezuelan Air Force to El Libertador Air Base in Maracay. All 24 F-16s, all 16 Mirages, 9 Broncos. The whole dang fleet sitting pretty in one location. And then boom! Rebels take control of the base and every single aircraft on it. Just like that, a coup leader now controls enough firepower to flatten half of South America. Meanwhile, another group of rebels grabs the Air Force Academy and all the trainer aircraft there. This is like if someone walked into Nellis Air Force Base and just said, "Mine now." And somehow it worked. But here's where things get interesting. Two F-16 pilots, Captain Jimenez Labarca and Lieutenant Guillermo Beltran Vielma, are at El Libertador when the coup goes down. These guys look around, see rebels taking over their base, and basically go, yeah, not happening, somehow, and I still can't believe this worked. They managed to reach 2 alert F-16s, start them up, and take off from a base that's literally being seized by armed rebels. Picture that scene, rebels running around with guns trying to secure the base, while 2 fighting Falcons just taxi out and launch like it's a normal Tuesday. These absolute legends fly straight to Barquisimeto, an airbase still under government control. They basically just stole back 2 of Venezuela's most advanced fighters, while surrounded by coup plotters. With most of Venezuela's air force now in rebel hands, General Visconti starts his coup for real. 2 rebel Mirages attack army barracks, 10 Broncos and Tucanos start bombing the presidential palace and foreign ministry in Caracas. Picture this. Venezuelan military aircraft bombing their own capital. Civilians looking up to see their own air force trying to kill their own president. That's some serious civil war shit right there. Meanwhile, at Barquisimeto, Labarca and Vielma are refueling and arming their F-16. They've got a decision to make: engage rebel aircraft over Caracas and risk killing civilians, or find another way to fight back. They choose option 3, fly back to their old base and strafe the hell out of it. So these 2 pilots fly back to El Libertador, their former home base, and light it up. Government F-16 strafing their own Air Force base, while rebels scramble for cover. The psychological warfare aspect alone is insane. Hey rebels, remember us? We're back, and we brought 20mm cannons. While all this is happening, one of the rebel OV-10 Broncos gets lit up by ground fire over Caracas. Crew ejects, gets captured. First kill goes to the government side, but it's ground forces, not air-to-air. The real air war's just getting started. The rebels aren't sitting around taking this. They launch a counter-attack against Barquisimeto, the only base the loyalists have left. 2 Mirage fighters hit the runway, followed by Broncos. They reportedly trash 8 CF-5 fighters on the ground. In reality, they probably got 3 to 5 aircraft plus some damage. Still, not bad for a bombing run against a defended airbase. But Labarca and Vielma are already airborne, and they're not happy. Here's where this story gets absolutely wild. Ground control vectors the two F16s to intercept the rebels coming back from their attack. Lieutenant Vielma catches up with the OV-10 Broncos near Maracay. Now, an OV-10 Bronco is basically a flying truck with propellers. An F-16 is a supersonic death machine. This is like a Formula 1 car racing pickup trucks, except the pickup trucks are also trying to kill you. Vielma opens up on the first Bronco and lights it up. Major Militic ejects safely. Second Bronco takes a Sidewinder missile and Lieutenant Domador gets killed. There's actual video footage of this engagement floating around online, which is insane. Two rebel aircraft down to air-to-air combat. Government F-16s are now 2-0 in aerial kills over their own country. After landing and refueling, only Captain Labarca takes off again for patrol over Caracas. Government ground forces are advancing toward the rebel stronghold, and he's basically the entire Venezuelan government air force at this point. One F-16, one pilot, protecting the capital of his country from rebels flying stolen aircraft. Labarca has to engage multiple rebel aircraft over Caracas, which is surrounded by hills and packed with millions of civilians. How do you conduct air-to-air combat over your own capital without turning it into a smoking crater? Very carefully, that's how. His first few runs don't work. Rebel pilots know their slow aircraft can outturn an F-16 at low speeds. But eventually Labarca gets a lock on a Tucano trainer and opens fire from 1,000 meters down to 400 meters. Imagine being in that Tucano. You're flying a trainer aircraft and suddenly there's an F-16 on your tail over downtown Caracas. That pilot probably had a heart attack. Then a Mirage shows up and Labarca chases it through the streets of Caracas in what might be the most surreal dogfight in modern aviation history. A delta-winged Mirage and an F-16 Fighting Falcon, both doing probably 400 plus miles per hour, weaving between skyscrapers and hills while trying to kill each other. This is like something out of an action movie, except it's real life and happening over a city of millions. The Mirage pilot knows his business and manages to escape. Labarca heads back to base, low on fuel but having established air superiority over the capital. By now, other rebel aircraft are getting picked off by ground defenses. One OV-10 takes anti-aircraft fire, limps back toward base on one engine. Then the engine dies and the pilot has to eject 300 meters short of the runway. Another Bronco gets nailed by either a surface-to-air missile or anti-aircraft fire while attacking La Carlota Air Base. Major Magallanes ejects and gets captured. The rebels are losing aircraft faster than they can replace them, and they only had a limited number to begin with F-16s controlling the skies and government ground forces closing in on El Libertador. General Visconti's rebels make one last desperate push. Multiple aircraft attack government columns and the presidential palace. But it's too late. The coup is done for. Air superiority matters, and two loyalist F-16 pilots just proved that quality beats quantity when it comes to air combat. Rebel leadership escapes to Peru. The coup collapses. Venezuela's government survives because two pilots decided to be heroes instead of going along with the program. Final score, 2 F-16 pilots versus most of the Venezuelan Air Force. Result, government wins, rebels get absolutely wrecked. These guys shot down multiple aircraft, conducted combat air patrols over their own capital, strafed their former home base, and established air superiority while outnumbered about 12 to 1. That's some legendary stuff right there. The tactical challenges were insane. How do you fight supersonic air combat over a major city? How do you engage slow, maneuverable aircraft with a fighter designed for high-speed intercepts? How do you attack your own Air Force base without getting emotional? Labarca and Vielma figured it out in real time, while the fate of their country hung in the balance. This whole episode shows how important air power is, even in internal conflicts. If those rebels had kept control of their stolen aircraft, they might have been able to bomb government forces into submission. Instead, two pilots with nerves of steel turned the entire coup around in a matter of hours. It also shows that modern warfare can get really weird really fast. F16 dogfighting over capital cities, pilots strafing their own bases, rebels flying stolen mirages. This is the kind of stuff that military planners have nightmares about. But sometimes reality is stranger than any nightmare. Sometimes you get a situation where the fate of a nation comes down to two guys in fighter jets who decided they weren't going to let some general steal their air force, and sometimes those two guys win. The November 1992 Venezuela coup attempt remains one of the most unusual military episodes of the modern era. It's got everything: stolen fighter jets, aerial combat over a major city, rebels with F-16, loyalist pilots going full Top Gun over their own capital. Most importantly, it's a reminder that individual courage can still change the course of history. Even when you're outnumbered, outgunned, and facing impossible odds, sometimes you can still save your country. You just need to be willing to strap into a fighter jet and show everyone what you're made of. Alright, that's the story. Hope you enjoyed learning about the time two F-16 pilots basically won a civil war in 6 hours. If you're into military history and lesser-known conflicts like this, hit that subscribe button. We cover everything from Cold War era battles to modern battlefield chaos. Basically, if it involves military stuff, it's ending up on this channel. Drop us a like if this story blew your mind. It helps us reach people who like this kind of content and helps us get into the YouTube algorithm. You can check this one out next. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.
Ahí va Mario. Ok.